Are there any, can everyone rise, please? Are there any concerns? Any? Yes, Linda. Any others? Yes.
Marcia, my father-in-law is back in the hospital right now. He had been in the hospital and in long-term re-care home for 3 days, but he's been back in the hospital at UT Southwestern for the past 4 or 5 days, and they're just trying to stabilize him right now to kind of, see what his situation is.
Okay.
Prayer for our frontline workers in the hospital. They're very stressed right now.
Anybody else? Okay. Please bow your heads. We need to remember in our prayers, first, Mark's father-in-law, who's in the hospital again and getting therapy. Also, our school kids and their teachers, as well as the frontline workers. So, let us pray. Dear Lord, as we gather here today as members of the Rotary Club of Park Cities, we are thankful for this day that you have given us its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. We pray that we are ever mindful of the many ways we can render our services to our fellow citizens, to our community, and to our country. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, and may we be challenged to give our best always. And Lord, we pray that the fellowship we enjoy here today will inspire us to spread hope, kindness, and peace in helping mankind throughout the world. Amen. And now, pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
It's great to see everybody. And now we're going to introduce guests. If you brought a guest, please stand and have your guest stand. Who can take the microphone around for me?
Make sure it's on. I want to make sure it's on.
Okay.
One of you want to do it. Anyway, just make sure it was on. Oh, sure. I'll do it. You always do it.
Thank you, Paul.
Good morning or afternoon, everyone. This is my daughter, Chandler Richmond.
Wow.
She is a rising sophomore at Texas A&M University in College Station. very proud of her. She will be heading off to college in the morning, so her dad and I are extremely sad, but I've been telling her all summer that I wanted to bring her to at least one of our meetings, so she came here today in support. And she's also finishing up an internship with Encore this summer, so she did an excellent job. Very proud of her.
Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome. We're so glad you're here.
I want to introduce Melissa Cody. Melissa has been a co-worker with my wife at Ernst & Young, and really, they were talking, and she said, I'm interested in Rotary. My wife said, I think I know the club. And I've told her she found the right club. So please welcome Melissa Cody.
Welcome. Thank you, Paul. And Patsy Watson is going to highlight our marketplace advertiser today, Natalie COURIE.
Yes, Natalie, she currently works for Henley and Henley Law Firm. They were founded in 2001 by two brothers, Jeff and Hudson. Henley and Henley Law Firm has served its clients in civil litigation and real estate law for over 20 years. Their civil litigation suits involve commercial disputes, breach of contract, accidents, product defects, complex damage disputes, and breach of fiduciary action. Natalie also spends her time discussing business with real estate professionals as her attorneys represent sellers and purchasers of real property. Their specialties include multifamily property, commercial lease law, real estate contracts, evictions, foreclosures, and of course, their team can draft any real estate documents needed. Natalie is dedicated to developing business for her law firm while simultaneously building relationships, creating connections, and helping others achieve success. Natalie has joined the Rotary Club of Park Cities to be more proactive within the community, serve others, and learn from inspirational leaders. Let's all thank Natalie for being this week's sponsor of the Hub.
Well, Scott can't be with us today, so I'm subbing for our Sergeant at Arms. If your picture is on there, certainly hand me a check as soon as you can for our Rotary Foundation. You know, it has grown. I'm no longer on it this year, but when I left last year, it has grown so much. The investment has been so spectacular, and yet I hear tell that they had to basically decline or defer so many because there wasn't enough money to pay for all the good causes that made applications to our foundation. So despite its size, we continue to need more and more to do more and more. And so I'll be down here, so if you want to hand me your check now, that's fine, or get it to Scott later. But remember the foundation of the Rotary Club of Park Cities.
Thank you, Pastor Richard. And now our Greg Pape is going to tell us about the Rotary Foundation.
Thank you, President Hampe. I'd like to ask past President Paul Pyrick to come to the podium and Betty Dawson. And while they're coming up, just a few updated comments. Our cumulative contribution since the club's inception in 1948 toward the Rotary International Foundation has eclipsed $1 million mark and now stands at $1,001,689. Thank you. We closed our 2020-21 fiscal year on June 30, 2021 with a contribution level of $31,909. There were 74 EREY contributors, of which 20 members contributed at Paul Harris Fellow levels of 1,000 or more, totaling over $23,000. Exceptional. And the balance of that, $7,300 in denominations of 100 or more, followed with $1,400 towards the polio eradication program. For the benefit of our new members and guests, The Every Rotarian, Every Year, EREY, initiative encourages all Rotary Club members to contribute 100 or more each and every year to help us reach our goal to support the Rotary Foundation financially each year. Rotary is supported solely by voluntary contributions. The foundation was created in 1917 by Rotary International 6th President Arch Klumpf to do good in the world. It has grown to more than $1 billion. Why should we donate to the Rotary Foundation? When you make a donation to the Rotary Foundation, you are helping Rotary members make a difference in the lives of millions of people around the world by promoting peace, preventing disease, supporting education, bolstering economic development, and providing clean water and sanitation. Past President Barb Jeffries and the board last year recognized a number of fellow Rotarians for their service, exemplary service. And today we are completing this recognition with 2 other members. Those members include Betty Dawson, who joined RCPC in 1999 and today is a level 6 contributor to the Rotary International Foundation. Betty Dawson. And Paul Pyrick joined our club in 2010, was also a past president of RCPC, and today is a level 4 contributor to the Rotary International Foundation. You're welcome, buddy. In conclusion, I just want to show off the early prompt contributors for this fiscal year that began July 1. It's a short list. Elaine Allen, past District Governor Rick Amesbury, Cub Avis, Fred Brown, past president, Pam Carvey, past president, Dean Chance. Dean was first. Past District Governor C.C. Colley, past President Doug Gill, past President Barb Jeffries, Charlotte Croker, Pat Martin, Scott McLaughlin, Jody Ray, and Valerie Peelan. Thank you for contributing.
And now we're doing Happy Bucks. So if you'll share what you're excited about and really that's in your life, that about your family, your job, a trip coming up, something that you're really happy about, and donate donation amount of your choice. Those funds are going to go towards our public recognition lunch. Every month, we recognize one person from Highland Park and one person from University Park that is doing exemplary service, and that's next week, so be sure to come and see those people. So let us know what your happy news is. Miss Marilyn, Miss Marcia.
Last week, Rodney Pirtle was happy to honor his friend and driver, Carl von Bieberstein. I'm going to second that emotion by being happy about my special driver. Got a little lost in the parking lot a while ago, but we'll get over that. Doug Means.
I love it. That's awesome. Way to go, Doug.
I got you. Doug is the member of the Transportation Committee that gets me here and home safely every week, and I am very happy and very grateful for that. And I have mentioned that this committee exists in this club to members of other clubs, and mostly to my family, who are saying, we didn't know they did that. And I want you all to know that they did that. And I'm very grateful and happy. Thank you.
Awesome. We're so glad y'all are here.
Thanks, Barb.
Here you go. Here you go, Richard. Miss Mary.
Okay. July 11th, I went on a mission trip to Dominican Republic. We went to, it was a Haitian refugee camp, laborers from Haiti that work in the sugar fields. Okay, the cool part was we went to two, they call it bates. We went to Bate 5 and Bate 7, and the Rotary had a whole video on one of these villages that they had put in the water system We did children, men, women. We installed water filters and gave food and clothing. But the main thing was we just had a great time with those great folks in those bates. So anyway, a kudo to all the Rotaries that have supported this particular water project. But anyway, we had a great trip.
Way to go, Mary. Miss Marcia.
My good news is that my husband is celebrating his 80th birthday.
Wow. Happy birthday.
And we've been married for 56 years.
Congratulations.
And if you asked me when I first married him that I would still be married to, looking ahead 56 years, I would have said, oh my God. Because I couldn't think that, So I just want to say, I hope we have many more. I hope that we'll be here next year, and the year after, and the year after. Thank you.
That's what we want too. Congratulations, and great skin, Toby. So I have some happy news. Since they haven't shared it all, I'm going to share it on their behalf. Ian is now Dr. Ian Mudge. Congratulations. What did you get your PhD in?
Industrial organizational psychology.
That's why I couldn't remember. That's complicated. Yeah. Great work. Congratulations. And she went behind the pillar. I can't see her. There's Natalie. She just got engaged. And now Miss Kristen Tesmer is going to give her new member speech. Come on up, Miss Kristen.
Thank you for giving me this 20 minutes to talk to you about just myself. My name is Kristen Tesmer. I'm honored to be participating with the Rotary here in Park Cities. I'm very blessed. My husband is my best friend and is a wonderful man. We have 3 children, all grown. They don't live with us anymore. And 3 dogs who all still live with us, which 2 of them are my children's dogs who haven't left with the children. So that's a whole nother discussion. I am joining Rotary. This is actually my last thing to do during my red badge time, and it's been an honor to get to meet so many of you and talk to all of you. I hope that for the next few years we'll all get to do a whole lot more service together. Stan Wright asked me at Monton Farms one day when we met if I'd be interested in serving with the Rotary, and of course I was very interested in it. I love to serve with others, and COVID has kept kind of a damper on some of the things we get to serve in the last year, and I'm looking forward to it being open. Unfortunately, we've already talked about hospital stuff. That's actually my work. I work with a group that has business leaders and the CEOs of the health systems all in it and on it, on our board, and they're under a lot of stress right now. So thank you for your prayers for them. That's very important from this group, and to be aware of their suffering and their patients' suffering right now, especially the kids. It's really a tragic situation with our children's hospitals right now. So keep them in your prayers, keep me in your prayers. We'll try to support them while they go through it and support you. So if there's anything you need from healthcare, please let me know. I'll be happy to help. Not to touch you. I'm not a nurse or a doctor. They don't let me touch people. And thank you for welcoming me to your club.
And now, Patsy and Mark are going to tell us about club operations. It's a really large team, so you can learn more about what they're doing in case you'd also like to join the team. Come on up, Patsy and Mark.
And I'm primarily going to focus on the club operations, and then Mark is going to talk about public image. And the good thing about these 2 areas, so many of us have been shut down, so many of the areas have been shut down by COVID, but these 2 have been very active and very, very busy. And so just we wanted to tell you what we're doing. And one of the things in club operations is, which is really good for new members, because there's a lot of opportunities to come up and speak from the podium. And even if you don't like to talk at the podium, you only have to be up here a couple of minutes. But it helps us get to know you with your face and name. And so we really would look forward to having you join us on club operations. And then Mark will get into public image. There's a lot going on there. First thing I would like to honor is speaker programs, which our club has to have wonderful speakers, and we really do. And that is led by Richard Stanford. Where is Richard? Right there. Oh, there he is. And he's assisted by Donette Keene and Roger Fredline. So thank you so much for all you do. Next, registration and badges. You see them out front. Nate Weymouth and J.R. Priestman helping us get signed in. There we go, right over here. Is Nate here? There he is, over on the other side. All right, and then a new one that we've brought back, public service recognition, where we recognize public service members from Highland Park and University Park. We just recently brought that back this year, and that's led by Sean Johnson and Major Todd Hawks. Are you here? No, but they do a great job, so I'm glad that they are involved with us. Music and Invocation, led by Carl von Bieberstein and assisted with Mary Bishop and William Taylor. There's Carl back there. All right. Mary, there you are, Mary. All right, very good. Transportation, that just got an advertisement today. And that really is vital for people that are not able to get here, but they want to come here. And that's led by Mark McGuffin. And is Mark here? Not sure if he's here. He's out of town, all right. And then I want to mention greeters led by Tom Swift. Tom Swift, I got back at you now. Okay. And you see him out there too. Yeah, no, go Tom. We're trying to get it back. So I am now going to turn this over. There you go. You are up.
Well, thank you, Patsy. And so we have a great participation level right now on the public image team. If you are interested in joining, please come and see me or talk to somebody else on the team. I'm just going to go down briefly through the different areas that we cover so you have an idea of how many things that we're doing. And if I call your name, if you're a leader of one of these teams and I call your name, if you could just stand up and then stay standing until I'm finished, and that way other members of the club will be able to see who's involved and make eye contact, and if they want to come and talk to you about helping out, then it'll be easy for them to get there. So our public image team is led by myself and Pat Martin. It includes PCR Marketplace, which is Mark Kasher, website and club runner, which is Dennis Harrison and Kyle Marmillion. Our bulletin, obviously the wonderful Betty Dotson, award-winning bulletin. Weekly program updates that you get via email is Shaban Abraham. Our My Rotary Showcase, so we're submitting different projects and stories to My Rotary Showcase so that we have a chance of those being showcased on the Rotary International website and possibly actually having articles and things written about the different types of things that we're doing. That's William Taylor. Shutterbug, taking pictures during the meeting, is led by Lee Wagner and NATALIE COURIE. LinkedIn, Tracy Gomes has now set up a new LinkedIn business page for our club. So if you're on LinkedIn, please go and find us and follow that page. Facebook and Instagram is Ian Mudge and Barb Jeffries. NATALIE COURIE is also taking some video clips and things and posting them during the meetings. Media relations, we just had a great meeting this week. Jeff Brady and Eric Harrison. And then, of course, the weekly meeting AV, Ian is a great help, in helping me to be able to do that on a weekly basis. So as you can see, there's a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different people involved, but we always need more people to help out. So if you're interested, please come see one of us. Thank you.
And Jeff, if you'll come on up. So if you haven't signed up yet for the FRISCO Rough Riders, we have to provide our count, and so do that. We're going to go to the game on August 20th. The tickets are really cheap, and it includes a great meal. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's Fireworks Friday, so there's going to be fireworks. We'd love for you to join us. And now, Jeff Brady is going to tell us about social media postings.
Okay. Thanks, Happy. But before I do that, I just want to say one thing very, very important. Giga-Maggies and look out, Alabama. We're going to get you. We're going to get you. Maybe this year. Quick. What? Hey. We're not going to go there. Not going to do it. Quick dad joke. What do you call a large reptile that posts provocative things on social media? Anybody? Anybody? Instigator. Yes, instigator, right? What do you call social media at the end of the world? Come on, Richard, you know. Post-apocalyptic. I know, you've grown now, but you're going to go home and tell these jokes to your kids. I know you. I know what's going to happen. Everybody take out your phone. Everyone has one. Take it out. This is the device you use to promote this club. If you want to see this club in the headlines, raise its visibility, use this device. It's called a cell phone. You can take it out. Most of them have a camera that's built in. And I'm going to show you something. Mark, can you pull up the screenshot? Here we go. This photo was taken by me as a selfie just moments ago, right over here, with this screen as a backdrop, okay? And it was myself, the lovely Patsy, and lovely Happy were with me. Took it myself and posted it on Facebook with a couple of key hashtags, which I can't read from up here. Mark, remind me what they were.
I'm going to put them back up on the screen.
You're going to put them back up. So there they are. Plenty of hashtags. You can take a screenshot right now of that. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead. You're thinking about it. Come on, Paul. Get your phone out. What are you doing? Get it? These are the hashtags you need to be using. And so all you have to do is come a few minutes early or stay after. Go to these backdrops over here that say Rotary, take a picture of yourself and post it and tell people how proud you are to be a part of this organization. It'll help us all. What else? Anything else to add? Do we have time for one more? Never mind. Okay. Happy, you're up. Thank you. Thank you.
Two final quick announcements. Bill Sleeper brought a fabulous scrapbook today that highlights women in Rotary. If you'd like to pop over to his scrapbook and take any pictures that you'd like. Thank you for doing that, Bill. We appreciate it. And lastly, I am so excited to share with you that we have a new club office. It's going to be really cool, really nice. It's going to be in Energy Square, Building 2. It's a brand new building, or it's being completely refinished, and it's going to be ready around September 15th. So we'll let you know when it's ready so you can come check it out. You're welcome to help us move furniture. And so more on that. And now, without any further ado, Daniel DRABINSKI is going to tell us about our awesome speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Happy. So today I've got the unique pleasure of introducing my very good friend, Dr. Randal Graham. Randal is one of those friends who is so good at everything he does that drives you crazy and makes you jealous, but yet he's so incredibly humble that you can't help but love the guy. Randal's truly one of the most impressive people I know. He grew up in the DFW area, actually grew up in Euless, went to Cistercian before attending Stanford University, came back here to Dallas and got his doctorate from UT Southwestern, and then was accepted into one of the most prestigious fellowship programs in the country with Northwestern, and spent 7 full years doing both fellowship in neurological sciences as well as spine. And so 7 years in a one-bedroom apartment in Chicago just so he could move back here, join up with Methodist, and I will brag on Randal a little bit. He gained some pretty significant fame last year worldwide through the surgical area, where he did one of the first, if not the first, live surgeries where the patient was actually awake while they did brain surgery and recorded the whole thing, the entire surgery online. So really cool. We're incredibly blessed that he was able to break some time off to be here today. I believe he came just directly from clinic, and he's going to talk about some of the updates to neurology, spine surgery, some of the latest and greatest. So we're excited to have him, Dr. Randal Graham.
All right, thank you very much, Dan. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a real pleasure and a unique honor to be here speaking to all of you. So I'll be focusing on kind of where we've been with neurosurgery as a field, what the field involves, what it means, kind of some of the current things that we're going through and what we're doing to help our patients, and what to expect in the future. And this is by no means a all-encompassing talk. It's as much as I can kind of fit in 25 or so minutes. So if you have any questions, please stop me. We'll make this as informal as possible, or if you can't hear or see anything up there well enough, just stop me and let me know. Let's see here. Does this work? Okay, all right, so what is neurosurgery? People think of neurosurgery as brain surgery, and that's certainly a part of it, but that's only a small part of it. Neurosurgery deals with the entire nervous system. Not just the brain, but the spinal cord, the nerves as they come off the spinal cord, peripheral nerves in our hands and feet and legs, as well as a lot of their surrounding structures. So the skull, the base of the skull, the face, the vertebrae, the bones, all the blood vessels. These are things we deal with on a regular basis. I deal with not just surgery, but diagnosis, prevention, non-surgical treatments, and rehabilitation of patients with various neurological conditions afterwards. But most of what I do is in the surgical realm. So there you can kind of see exactly how the nervous system encompasses the entire body, as you can see in that little cartoon. No? I'll advance it for you. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. All right. So highly specialized. What we do is considered highly specialized. It requires a certain amount of training, but it's diverse. So if you look on that screen there, you look left to right. That's a cerebral angiogram with some coils placed into an aneurysm. That operation is really just a puncture in the leg with x-rays, just like getting a cardiac catheter, right? So a neurosurgeon does that. And then maybe the very next case, the neurosurgeon does what you see on the right. That's open brain surgery, taking out a brain tumor. That's the surface of the brain of one of my patients. You see a big kind of cavity there if you look closely. That used to be a tumor, and that came out. So you can imagine from picture 1 to picture 2, it's an entirely different skill set, right? Entirely different level of understanding and different skill set, different equipment. And if you look on the third panel top right, that's a scoliosis correction that I did about 4 months ago, right? So that's placing screws into bone and pushing and pulling and derotating and rotating the spine. Completely different anatomy and in a really almost a different solar system compared to what you see on the left. And then on the very, very right, I mean, that's just a routine carpal tunnel. I mean, on a given day, I could do all of these, right? Or be involved with all of those. So it's a highly diverse field, and you can go your entire career and really only know about 25% of what the field really involves. Next, please. So really what I want to also kind of hammer in today is when you see any doctor, any physician, whether that's your kid's pediatrician or the guy that fixes your knee, or if you see me, that medicine will always be a combination of medical sciences plus there's an art form to it. So neurosurgery is heavily scientifically weighted. So really there are over 100, probably into the hundreds of peer-reviewed journals, not just articles, journals, focusing on neurosurgery in the world right now. If you actually do a little PubMed search, you'll find tons of them that have high impact factors in the medical field. Furthermore, 20% of us have PhDs. So if you think about that, 4 years of medical school plus 7 years of training is like the bare minimum. Like some of these guys are crazy enough to go back and get PhDs like this guy did here, right? So, it's a lot of meld of science and scientific research goes into neurosurgery. And 20%, by the way, is like probably the highest percentage of any surgical specialty of a concentration of people with PhDs. 2 of my partners are in private practice, they have PhDs. I have no idea why they did that, but they did. So on a daily basis, the art form part of it, so the discussions I have to have, end-of-life issues, the number of cancer patients I see, right? So the number of debilitated trauma patients, gunshot wounds to the head, massive strokes, massive brain hemorrhage, people who have 2 weeks to live, people who have 2 hours to live, right? There's no science on how to have that discussion, right? That's just something you pick up along the way, you learn on just dealing with people. Chronic pain and disability, I could talk about that for a long time. right? People with chronic pain, that's dealing with a person who's on a lot of medications, maybe abusing medications, right? That's a big deal, right? Trying to talk about the psychosocial issues, that's something that, I have to deal with on a regular basis every day. Life-altering complications, even if something goes perfectly, right? I make mistakes, my staff can make mistakes, things can happen, bad things can happen after surgery. Everybody here probably knows somebody who's had 3 or 4 or 5 spine surgeries, didn't go so well, infections, problems, learning how to talk someone through that, get them through that. And then just some of the decision making is very nuanced, right? Whether or not to have an operation, right? So if a 95-year-old has a large brain tumor, probably not going to do surgery, right? So understanding the nuances of making those decisions is not a whole lot of science to it, right? That's just person-to-person communication. And then obviously, I put on the last part, I think it's actually the least important part, really is the hand skills part, right? The stereotype is we have perfect hands, we don't tremor, that kind of stuff. That just that's years and years and years of reps and getting better and getting more confident. But, right, that's not science, that's just skill, right? So I think the take home from this slide, and I think really from a lot of my talk here, is that when you see any doctor, any surgeon, that there's a combination of art and science to it. And so we've come a long way. So if you look kind of left to right, that's sort of a illustrated history of our field, right? So on the left, that's ancient. That's like an ancient Egyptian mummified skull with a trephine, right? What used to be called a trephine, which is a small defect in the bone where somebody gained access to that person's brain for some reason, right? And then if you look to the right, we get into the more kind of medieval type times of that guy wearing like an oil funnel on his head. I don't wear that currently. Maybe I should bring it back, but and so that's another style of trephine you see there to the right on that skull, a little more recent, where it's a little better edges, a little more smooth, better technology, better tools. And really, if you look above, you kind of see some depictions, some artist pencil drawings of what that looked like on fully awake people, which we do that now actually, but under better circumstances, I promise, without oil funnel hats. But the tools, I mean, look at that. That's something you find like a carpenter's workbench, right? Really, if you look there, those are the best tools that they had back in those days, and like zero septic techniques, so no infection control, anything. And really, I think Harvey Cushing, who is considered like the father of neurosurgery, published, I think back in the 40s and 50s, for a simple brain, what we consider now a simple brain tumor removal, which would take me, an hour and a half, 2 hours. Patient leaves the hospital in 2 days and comes back, and they're complaining about, oh my God, I need to get back to work next week, right? So back in those days, 80% mortality, 80%, right? So, in 50 years, we've come that far to where now we're in a situation on the right, if you see there, that's what kind of my operating room looks like. It's modern. You go in there, it's amazing. It's like something out of CSI, right? You have different lighting conditions. You can control temperature, humidity, microscopes, any number of things. We can monitor your nervous system while you're asleep. It's really incredible how far we've come in just a very short amount of time. Next slide. So here's a quick evolution. So the 1950s, what really revolutionized neurosurgery just 60, 70, 75 years ago was the operating microscope, which you see there on the right. That's the very first operating microscope used for neurosurgery. That just allows us to magnify and zoom in and see things a lot closer, because a lot of what we deal with is this is one of my patients there on the bottom right. So that entire field, okay, in that screen is the size of a dime, okay? So I'm working in like a little field the size of a dime, maybe a quarter, right there. And there I can see the optic nerve, I can see the internal carotid artery, I can see 3 other branching arteries. There are 4 aneurysm clips placed in there, right? So imagine placing little clips within a field the size of a dime or a nickel. I can actually see the other side's optic nerve as well in that very small field. So a microscope revolutionized the way we were able to do what we now call microsurgery. We can see much smaller things. And the technology for microscopes has exploded and gotten so much better, where we can actually inject fluorescence into the arteries and see things a little bit better. We can distinguish tumor tissue from regular tissue with certain dyes and things. Imaging was the next revolution. So about 10, 20 years after that, we take CT scans. Anybody here had an MRI scan before? Right, so we take it, look at this, everybody, right? We take it for granted, right? Because you just show up and go to an imaging center, and whatever, there's some soft music playing, they lay you down. I mean, that was a big deal. That was a huge deal to have that, because before we would operate and have no idea what we're getting into, right? So imagine a guy opening your skull has no idea what they're getting into. They've had no picture of what it really was. Can you go back one slide, please? Sorry. Yeah, there we go. And then, so the next generation, so think of imaging as like, when we used to go on, download a MapQuest or Google Maps to know where we're going, right? That's what that is. It's like I get a little MapQuest or Google Maps of your brain or spine, so I know kind of what we're going to get into. Okay, so think of it that way. So the next generation, 10, 20 years later in the 1990s, something called image guidance. So what if I can look at your image during surgery, right, in real time, and take a little probe like this hammer, and I can point to it, and if I point this somewhere inside your brain and a screen tells me on your MRI exactly where that's pointing to. That's called image guidance. So consider that like GPS in your car. So you know exactly where your car is. Like my car is on Mockingbird and I'm stuck in traffic and it says it right there, right, at that exact time. So that's what that is. And that was the next kind of big revolution for surgery. It made us faster, more accurate, more efficient. And then I don't know what's going to happen next, right? So what's the exciting thing on the forefront? Part of what I'm going to talk about at the very end of this. A lot of new things that are emerging as our other technologies emerge. So things like AI, machine learning, virtual reality, right? Those are all kind of big topics now in sort of the tech field. So that's being now melded with our field, okay? And robotics too. So robotics, I'll show you some videos on that too. So next slide. So imaging, right? So before, all we had was plain x-rays, right? The top left. Like, does anybody see a brain in there? I mean, that's probably like if you took an x-ray of me after being up all night, it looks like that. It's just air, right? But, so you can't tell, right? So if someone has symptoms of a seizure or whatever, you think there's a tumor on that side, you just take off the whole half of the skull and look for it. Like, that's all you can do. So what they came up with was, well, what if we inject air into the fluid chambers of the brain, right? So compare that top left skull to the top right. See that little kind of swirly thing in there? That little kind of bright colored swirly thing? That's air inside the space known as the ventricle, which used to be filled with spinal fluid. They put air in there instead. Okay? So it's called an encephalogram or pneumoencephalogram. And so you can kind of start to see a little bit of detail, right? You can kind of appreciate how that picture has a little more detail. The top right and the bottom left compared to the top left, right? So not a great picture, and it's literally torture. So this poor child here is having one of these done. You take a kid wide awake, just jam a needle into their spinal canal and just pump air into there. It's just massive headaches, nausea, just torture. These kids would have seizures for days afterwards. Not good, right? But that's all we had, right? A short time ago. This is like 1950s, right? Not that long ago. All right, next slide, please. So CT scans was like a huge revolution where Dr. Hounsfield developed a way to take multiple x-rays with a circular tube device and put those together to come up with a CAT scan. So you can distinguish between bone, which is the white rim around there. See that? That's the skull. The brain, which is the gray stuff, and water, right? Water is like the sort of the dark stuff in the middle there. Sorry, let me see if this, it doesn't really work on the screen there, but you can kind of appreciate that. And then on the middle one, see those kind of bright little squigglies inside the brain? You can inject dye into the vessels and see the blood vessels a lot better. So really, you can actually get a better roadmap. So now, right, if I'm going in there, I know what I'm dealing with, right? I've gone to MapQuest and made a little instruction sheet. I kind of know what I'm dealing with. So on the top right, you can see a big brain hemorrhage there, right? See that big white spot in the middle? On the bottom right, you see kind of a brighter, whitish, grayish looking thing. That's a tumor, right? So I know there's a brain tumor there, right? So we're starting to get a little more accuracy, a little more understanding of what we're doing. Next, please. Right? With the spine, this is a little bit of a busy slide, I apologize. But what I wanted to prove here was if somebody comes in with foot paralysis, okay, on the left, and all you have is an x-ray. And so you have there on that left, top left, see that's just a plain x-ray. So somebody with a left foot paralysis can have a disc herniation in any of those spots where those yellow dots are. Can everybody appreciate that? It can be any one of those. And with an x-ray, you don't know. So what you have to do is, like this guy on the bottom, make a big incision, right? Open the whole thing and try and find it. Good luck, right? Just keep searching until you find it. Now with CAT scans, right, what we've done is we can get a little more accuracy. We can see a disc herniation there. I'm sorry, this is kind of small. It's hard to see, but there's a little kind of dark spot there. That's actually a big disc herniation. So instead of opening the whole thing, I can do a little minimally invasive operation where I put a little tube down. I know exactly where I'm going. We can do it in 30 minutes as opposed to 4 hours. And the patient goes home the same day as opposed to being in the hospital for a week or two, okay? All right, next slide. So MRIs, even more detail, okay? So now I don't just know where, but now there's so much fine detail with these MRIs these days. I can tell what kind of tumor it is probably, right? I can tell how old it is. I can tell how long it's been there, right? I can kind of guess how long the patient's had symptoms. So you can kind of appreciate how beautiful the detail is on these MRI scans compared to CT scans. So, MRIs were really starting to become more and more used in kind of the early 80s. All right, next, please. Right, so these are 4 scans of 4 things going on the left side, and they're all totally different, okay? So on the left, that's a tumor, right? That's a brain tumor. The second one, that is a stroke, right? That's what a stroke looks like, okay? And then the third one, that is multiple sclerosis. And then that last one there is a brain hemorrhage, right? They look totally different. But all 4 of these patients would have the exact same symptoms, right? Totally different things requiring different treatment. 2 of which don't even need surgery, right? So it's really important to get that level of resolution, and MRI lets us do that. Next, please. Okay, so now we'll jump to the next generation, imaging in real time, or sort of the GPS for the brain, so you can see what that looks like there. On the right, I apologize again, it's kind of a busy diagram, but basically you get your image, you plug it into this special little kind of camera-looking device, see that there on the bottom right? And it builds a 3D image of that particular patient from that scan, okay? So then you can use a little probe, just like I pointed out like this, use a little probe and kind of point to, if I have the brain here open, I can point to spots, and it shows me on the MRI exactly where I am, right? So you can imagine how much faster that makes you if you have that other second level of confidence. And you can also imagine how much smaller of an incision you can make, how less bone you can take away, you can do less surgery and accomplish the same goals with image guidance. Okay, and that's, next slide. So we do this in the spine too, not just the brain. So this is a surgeon actually using image guidance to place a screw into a little 3 millimeter window of bone. You have to place a big screw in there, right? So you get a little bit of pinpoint accuracy before. You have to kind of use anatomy and kind of almost guess to put it in there. So now we can use 3D navigation and accomplish the exact same task, more accuracy, much more quickly, smaller incisions, right? Next, please. So this is one of my patients here. So, right, that's her MRI. That's her MRI after being plugged into the 3D navigation. So you can see that big white ball, size of an orange. That's a massive benign tumor. Okay. Next slide. Is there a play button? It's supposed to be a video.
Sorry, I didn't know. Sorry.
No?
I didn't know there was a video included.
Okay, well, anyways, that's it's basically, that's a little Dremel tool designed for bone. I'm removing a fragment of bone off, and you can kind of appreciate that opening is the exact size of the tumor, so I don't have to do this big opening because I could use navigation to do that. So next slide, please. So there it is on the left. That's the tumor on the brain surface. See that kind of dark, ugly thing on there, right? The pointer doesn't really reflect well off the screen, but you can see it there. And then around it, you can kind of see the brain surface, the gyrus surface, and then that's my assistant's hand compared to the size of the tumor. So it's like a small orange. So this lady, she's a pharmacist, right? Like a really functional person, was having migraines and couldn't focus at work and couldn't calculate anymore. Her math skills were all off, and then ended up getting that scan and found that thing. So we took it out. Now she's back to work. So this is one. She went home like second day after surgery. Went home, back to work within a week. Right, just incredible what we can do nowadays. All right, so where do we go from here? So like I was kind of talking about, as the tech field, emerging technologies happen, that's all going to get sort of filtered and pushed into the medical field. Okay, and you're going to see that as we go along. I think things are rapidly evolving. We're going to see that more and more. So there's a lot of these. There's like 20 or 30 different things that are, these are the 3 that I found most interesting. So if I'm leaving something out, it's you know, we can ask about that later. But so I think the 3 that I find, you know, kind of the most fascinating are virtual reality and simulation. You know, just coming out of training, right? So our surgical reps are on people. Like, you know, I learned by operating on people. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start melding some simulation, some VR to complement our training, to kind of steepen that learning curve and make us learn faster, I think. So machine learning and artificial intelligence, so I'll go over what that is in a little bit and how that applies to what we're going to be doing and how it's going to change our practice. And then robotics. So next slide. All right, so simulation, basically this is enhancing the learning of complex anatomy and complex actions. You can see there on the right, actually they're even using just the Oculus headset, where trainees are placing Oculus headsets, and actually they're giving these to patients as well, where they literally do a virtual fly-through of their own anatomy, or a trainee does a virtual simulation of an operation where they actually can use their hands, and there's haptics. And so really it's enhancing learning curve for complex surgical skills and also helping patients really understand their condition. So I think this is you're going to see a lot more of this in residency programs. It's already obviously, it's all over the West Coast since that's where all this is developed. Every, you know, Stanford, UCSF, all these programs have virtual reality labs where they're having their trainees go through this, that in conjunction with their traditional training, and they're doing a lot of research to see like, oh, does this, you know, does the combination, you know, at all, you know, increase the learning curve or not, or is it just a big waste of time? We don't quite know yet, but I think it's actually going to be really, really good. But the warning is it's not going to replace real training, right? You can't drive a race car video game and then say, oh, I'm ready for Formula One, right? Like it's like, right? It's the same thing for surgery, but I think it's a nice tool. So pilots, right? Pilots have to do simulator hours, right? And the simulator hours, they really help them, and they can get in and they're better pilots because they've had those simulator hours. They have at least a partial kind of rep built in to their training. Next slide, please. So they're now even putting this into intraoperative augmented reality. So I've actually tried this system. This is called the 7D surgical system, where you actually wear this kind of robot-looking headset, where it actually, remember those navigation images I showed you, where the surgeon's putting the screws in and they can look at a screen and see what's going on the bone. So now, instead of looking at a screen, you just look where you're working, and those images are kind of overlaid onto the actual patient. Right, so it's pretty cool. So it's kind of neat looking. I've tested this out for them a few times. They're still kind of tweaking. It's not 100% accurate yet, but I think we're going to see a lot more systems like this, where again, it's not going to replace the surgeon, right? It's just going to be that extra little tool to help and hopefully make things a little bit faster, a little bit safer, a little more accurate. Okay. All right. So AI and machine learning, this is a little bit more complicated, but I think it's kind of the most exciting thing because it's helping us decide, make better decisions and understand what we do and why we do it. So what are these things? So artificial intelligence is basically using computer and machines to mimic. These really smart people create a problem-solving bit of software where it actually mimics the human learning kind of experience in a piece of software. I have no clue how you actually make that work. It's people who are very, very brilliant. Using data and algorithms to sort of imitate the way humans learn. So the machine actually corrects itself over time. And so there are a few labs out there looking at how this can apply to the neurosurgical practice. And so, like, for example, they're taking, remember those MRI scans I showed you, right? 4 scans, 4 totally different things. So I can see exactly what those are. So can the computer do it? Right? So then they plug in those scans to the computer and say, okay, well, we're going to see, is the computer accurate at predicting which of these scans is what? And it turns out for a lot of models, they're about 95% accurate, right? So it's pretty good, right? 95%, I would take that. But how does that compare to a human specialist, right? That's a big question. So next slide. So this is a big study where they compared several different machine learning interfaces with human practitioners to see who did better. And they looked at like 20 or so different comparisons. So look at, if you guys, can everybody see those two pictures? Right, so there's two MRI scans of the brain, okay? And if you look towards the bottom, there's a little white spot. I'll go ahead and point it to you because it's kind of important. So you guys see that versus that? See how they look a little different, right? Mostly the same, maybe a little different? Okay, so I'll tell you the one on the left, okay? The one on the left that's a 30-minute operation. Super quick, easy in, easy out, very elegant through the nose. You can do it through the nose, no incision, very few complications. Patients recover pretty quickly. The one on the right is a circus. It's densely adherent to blood vessels. It sticks to something called the hypothalamus, which is a very critical structure. It's like an 8-hour nightmare. But they look so similar, right? So it's pretty darn important to know which one's which. Would we agree? So looking at this from my training, I know which one's which. I can tell. But, you know, can the machine do it, right? That's the question. Can we train a machine to be able to tell the difference, right? And so that's just one example of a study. This is so the one on the left is called an adenoma. The one on the right is called a craniopharyngiomas. So they looked at all the thousands of scans of adenomas versus craniopharyngiomas, and they took a whole group of radiologists and neurosurgeons, and then they took a machine learning interface and said, okay, who does better? So, you know, the clinical experts, 91%, and the interface was 99%, right? So that's just one example of one thing that there are several other different, you know, parameters, not just these types of scans of comparisons they did. And they found that it was mostly comparable, right? The machines, you know, failed in some, and the humans kind of failed in some. It's kind of a wash right now, but we're going to keep developing these techniques. So a lot of other applications you can imagine, right? So, you know, trying to predict outcomes after chemotherapy or predict outcomes after an operation. Sorry, can you go back one? Avoiding complications, like the machines can look, what are the risk factors for complications after a certain operation, et cetera, okay? And, you know, preoperative planning, which is what this is, right? Knowing which one's which, okay? Next slide. So am I going to be replaced by a server farm, right? And the answer is no. I hope not. So no, you know, the computers can't figure out the global implications. This is the art part. Remember I talked about the art part of what we do? Right, so they can't do that, at least not yet. You know, consider the global implications of our decisions, like they just don't understand that, right, because they don't interact with people. And you know, it's ambiguous whether we're going to apply this into community practice. Right now, this is a highly academic field. Like I read about it quite a bit because I find it interesting, but whether or not we're going to put it into a community practice such as mine or others remains to be seen. And so I think this is going to be a big contribution to how we make decisions and how we drive our practice and things like that. But it's going to be like a complementary thing where we work with these algorithms together to make ourselves better, right? So, all right, next slide, please. So robotics. Robotics, this is kind of a hot topic now. So everybody's probably seen all the billboards for hospitals buying robots and things. So basically, it's taking that image-guided stuff, but just adding a robot arm to it, right? So right now in neurosurgery, not a ton of applications, but it's a building field. And so you can see there on the bottom right, the surgeon's using a robot to place screws. Next slide. Very good. So right there, that kind of white thing with a cellophane wrap around it, that's a robot arm that's actually holding a screwdriver to help place screws through image guidance. And on the right, that's a picture of the scan afterwards. So supplements image guidance surgery. And right now, the only kind of feasible application is placement of screws. There's no other application for it. So still pretty limited. And the surgeon has to be there the whole time to actually, you know, fit things and kind of guide the machine to put those implants in. So theoretically, it should improve accuracy and efficiency. Next slide, does it really? Oh, so that's a video too. All right, so this is a video of the arm actually moving around. It's kind of cool, but I guess we don't get to see it. So So does it work? So when they compared a surgeon just placing screws freehand, right, with no image guidance or anything, there was a slight improvement in accuracy, not a big improvement, okay, but a little bit. Radiation exposure, right? So some surgeons have to take a lot of x-rays to put in screws, some don't. I don't take a lot, some do. So the question is, can a robot arm limit radiation exposure, right? That's a hot topic now since we've been shown that a lot of x-rays can build up over time and the risk of tumors and other problems can go up, cataracts, right, stuff like that. So it's equivocal. It's about the same right now. It's a lot slower, right? So with a robot, it would slow me down by a factor of 3 if I used a robot right now, the way it is now. So, you know, maybe they'll come up with better ones soon. And really expensive. Like, this is a big capital investment for hospitals, but it's also a big marketing tool, right? Okay, next slide. Yeah, so is it worth it? Like I said, and this is kind of just rehashing that. It depends, right? So these guys, the hospitals all do a big cost-benefit analysis. It's a big marketing tool as well. Like I said, some surgeons are very accurate naturally, some aren't. Some surgeons are like, you know, I'm not that accurate. I'd love to have a robot help me, right? Maybe it's a good thing for them. A lot of surgeons, you take a ton of x-rays, a robot can help them with radiation exposure. It wouldn't help me. So for me, it doesn't make sense, but for other guys, it probably does, okay? And there's only one application, it's just placing screws, so it's really unclear whether or not robotics is going to improve patient outcomes. It's just because we're so early in our development of it. Next. So, will I be replaced by Terminator? Not yet, okay? You know, maybe we're getting there, but yeah, not yet. So, like I said, there's always an art component to what we do, even if it's a very scientific field. That will always be there. It's not going to go away. I think, you know, surgery, any clinical science is still a human endeavor that requires, face-to-face, requires human involvement, okay? And that should be it, right? Yeah, thank you. That's it.
So thank you so much for joining us today. You were fabulous. And if you could have time to stick around for a few extra minutes for people to ask questions. And then you and I will take a picture in front of the screen after this. A book is being placed in your honor at McShan Elementary. Thank you so much. You're definitely the smartest person in the room. Next week's speaker is going to be lots of fun as well. Captain Robert Ali, U.S. Navy retired. He's going to talk about unhappy cruise endings. It's going to be very entertaining. Cub's bringing that speaker. It's going to be lots of fun. And now, Paul Pyrock is going to do the membership minute and tell us about Legacy of Leadership.
Thank you, President Happy. Dr. Graham, I have to apologize, but everybody here knows I can't pass up an easy punchline. I didn't know I was going to follow a brain surgeon to the podium here. Legacy of Leadership. This club, one of the unique things this club does is put on a Legacy of Leadership program. We have done it 3 times now, 2 pre-COVID and 1 during COVID via Zoom. And if you're one of the people that's finished the Legacy of Leadership program, would you stand up? These people have devoted 8 days of their time to developing their leadership skills to help the club, but also to help their community. We are and you all can sit down now, thank you very much. We're in the process of putting together our 4th cohort right now, and we are accepting applications. I wanted to read a couple of excerpts from things that people that have taken the course have said. An excellent program with excellent guest speakers, very worthwhile. Speakers have been very enlightening, educational, and thought-provoking, great life lessons. The program was instrumental in forming teams, leading, and working on group projects. So making an open invitation to people that have not been part of one of the cohorts to do this next one. It'll start on September 22nd. It will be 8 Wednesday mornings, and it'll go 7:30 to 9 a.m. Breakfast will be included. You'll have guest speakers for 7 of those 8 meetings, and excellent outside guest speakers. Only one is actual people from inside the club, so you get to hear from guest speakers. To sign up, go to the website. On the top banner of our website, there's a button called Member Center. That's a pull down. Go to Member Center. The second pull down is Legacy of Leadership. It's got the specific syllabus. It's got the specific dates, but they basically run September 22nd through sometime in February, every second or third Wednesday. It sort of depended on holidays and stuff. We couldn't make it real even, but please sign up. It is going to be at an office building up near 75 and 635 in that business park up there. We have a business conference room that we're going to be able to use, and that's where we're going to do it. So again, please go on the website, sign up. Oh, by the way, the cost is $100. That basically covers the breakfast and the materials. Now, my membership minute, and I'm not going to make any jokes here. This is all dead serious. I've been a member of this club for 11 years, and I've had a lot of different jobs in this club, and some of y'all are probably tired of seeing me up here. But I will tell you, I am looking out over an awesome, awesome group of people. And as I look around the room, I see 3 people that I knew before I joined this club: Philip Bankhead, Sean Foster, and Tom Rhodes. Everybody else in this room I know because I joined this club. And how much smaller would my life be if I didn't know all of y'all? So I am so grateful that Cleve Clinton badgered me to come to club meetings. I met Cleve at church. We were in a Bible study together. Philip's in that Bible study too, but Cleve just badgered me to come to the club. And I finally did, and it has been one of the most enriching experiences of my life. So I encourage all of you to ask your friends if they like people, to bring them to this club, because this is just an awesome, awesome group of people, and it is such a privilege for me to be a part of this group. Thank you.
And just really quickly, I think we have one other guest over here. If he could stand and tell us who you are. Awesome. What do you do?
I'm a zoning consultant for zoning. If developers want to rezone their properties, I will work with them in doing that.
Awesome.
But also, I'm very adamant about health and wellness in terms of good supplementations that everyone needs today. For, because of what we eat today, it doesn't have the proper nutrients in there. So I'm very adamant. I'm very passionate, about educating people about good supplementations.
Awesome. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you.
So thank you for staying late. We have some guests. We'd love for each of y'all to consider joining. And without any further ado, Miss Natalie COURIE is going to do the 4-way test for us. First.
Okay, sorry, I don't have it memorized yet. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Happy Friday. Thank you. Thank you, Natalie.